Buff Nation, what's going on? Texas Tech Nation, Wreckham. I don't know what I say, but welcome all of the Red Raider audience to the channel. This is going to be a lot of fun. I am joined by host of the Back to 12 podcast and Texas Tech alum, RC Maxfield. We're going to break down what I think is the clash of two rising powerhouse programs here in the Big 12, which should be a lot of fun between Colorado and Texas Tech. But before we dive into all the talking points, be sure to like both shows. Link to his channels in the description. Join the chat. This is going to be a lot of fun. RC, again, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing coming off of that Iowa State victory, man? What a game.
Yeah, it's crazy what a week can do, right? In terms of perception. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, it was I don't know if you like cursing on your show. I probably curse too much on mine. But Texas Tech was down in the shitter after the Baylor, the way that they lost to TCU, right? And I know I didn't give them a chance to win at Iowa State, but that's the beautiful thing about college football, specifically in the Big 12. It's the league of parity, and Texas Tech proved that. So crazy how things can change in 1 week, but I know that there's a lot of good games around the country, and you and I are a little bit biased here, but I truly believe this is the game of the weekend in a lot of ways, because there are so many storylines involved with this, dating back a decade and a half. Two really good friends coaching against each other, and Coach Prime, Joey McGuire. He literally coached Coach Prime's oldest son, who does all that great media stuff now for Colorado. I mean, there's just storylines abounds here, right? And not to mention the fact that these two teams have legitimate Big 12 title aspirations as well. So it's going to be fun talking about it. And man, it's going to be a hell of a weekend out in the 806. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited for you guys, man, because it's I think the nation sees it like that too. Because I mean, big noon kickoff coming to Lubbock, that's incredibly exciting, and I think again, you guys just knocked off the number 11 team. We got a lot to play for. You guys still got a lot to play for as well. I think that we're going to get a fantastic effort from both squads. And before we get to kind of this matchup a little bit, I would just love to hear a little bit more about kind of where Texas Tech has been this year. I think that before, we were talking off air, I feel like these teams have kind of behaved rather similarly throughout the course of the season. I mean, we beat North Dakota State in a close game. You guys, knocked off Abilene Christian there, but it took overtime. We go through kind of a tough loss, against Nebraska, but our Buffs, man, we've gotten better as the year's gone on. And it seems like, y'all might have had a couple performances that haven't been up to expectation. But I think that Texas Tech, man, you could argue that they're peaking at the right time, or at least are coming off of their best football so far this year. How would you describe the Texas Tech Red Raiders so far this season?
Are you a fan of Six Flags, David?
Hey, I like Six Flags, man.
You like a good roller coaster?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'd be a good Texas Tech fan. Me, on the other hand, I hate roller coasters. But that's what Texas Tech has been. It's been a roller coaster. You mentioned it, the Abilene Christian. I'm going to call it a debacle. Yeah, you win, but woof. Watching that game, Washington State was nasty, nasty work. Then you score 50 points in the first half against North Texas and make them look like they need to be relegated down to D3. You beat a team in Arizona State that maybe has been the biggest surprise of the Big 12 season so far, a team that was picked to finish in the bottom three. Now they're bowl eligible. You beat Cincinnati, a team that has a really good squad in the second year of their coach being there. And then you go to Arizona and you win a game in a way that you haven't won a game all year, which it's a foreign concept for Texas Tech defense. It's weird. They forget that side of the ball exists. They play so good of defense against Arizona. They go into their bye and just don't prepare for Baylor at all. and allow Sawyer Robertson, the hometown kid, to come back to Lubbock and almost hang a 60 piece on him on homecoming. Not very, very, very nice of him. But anyway, then they go to TCU, absolutely just hand the Horned Frogs a victory, right? So it's kind of been a roller coaster. And then we talked about a little bit off air. No one picked Texas Tech to beat Iowa State last week. Nobody did. And if you did, you were out of your mind, honestly, just due to the 2 weeks prior. But Texas Tech, they went in, they mucked up the game, and they played a similar game to what they did against Arizona, which was defense-oriented. The offense disappeared for 37 minutes, and then they made timely plays when it actually mattered. And I think that that's probably the biggest compliment I can give Texas Tech from a team standpoint. They're never really out of it in terms of you can tell that they're going from the first minute of the game to the last, right? Like they're in it. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win, i.e. the Baylor game, but they really do compete at the highest level and really do care about Joey McGuire. From a Tech standpoint, though, this is an offensive-heavy team. This is the best offense in the Big 12 on a scoring basis. Going into the Iowa State game, it was 36 points per game. Now, the issue was they were allowing 34. So, there you go. But that's really going to be the tale of this game from a Texas Tech standpoint is I can promise you they're going to want Taj Brooks to go in, and you're going to know who Taj Brooks is pretty early on. He is, in my estimation, and call me biased if you want, the best running back in the Big 12, maybe the second best running back in the country behind Austin Janty up at Boise State. He's 120 yards away, David, from being the all-time leading rusher in program history, and I promise you they want to do that on Fox with Coach Prime there. And he's going to be the guy to watch offensively. He's number 28 for Texas Tech. You got a couple of guys as well, Caleb Payday Douglas. Don't forget the Payday on there. Number 5, and then Josh Kelly, number 3 for the wide receivers. Those are the 2 guys to watch on the outside. And then defensively, Jacob Rodriguez is, if not the best linebacker in the Big 12, he's in the mix. Just won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. He's a bona fide star, former quarterback, actually transferred in from Virginia after being a quarterback there to Texas Tech to play linebacker, had injuries last season, and now has shown that true potential. And when he's on the field, the Texas Tech defense looks night and day different when him and Ben Roberts are actually playing well. So those are the kind of guys to look at, and he's number 10 on the defensive side. So those are kind of the really big players to look at. But I think from just my standpoint, I don't know how you feel about it. I feel like this game is going to be an old Big 12 shootout. I think there's going to be a ton of fireworks for both squads because I know Texas Tech doesn't typically play a lick of defense, and I know the Colorado defense has gotten better, but they are susceptible to big plays. So is Texas Tech. So who doesn't love a good shootout, right? I think that's really what we're potentially going to see.
I'll always take a shootout over, in Iowa.
This isn't the Big Ten.
One of those 10-9 games. Not a fan. Let's put up 50 points each and really have a barn burner. I think that would be a really fun outcome for this game. But like Texas Tech, I mean, you guys have had such a dynamic and explosive offense. I mean, you guys pass the ball really well. I think Baron Morton, I think he might be what I would consider maybe the most underrated quarterback in the Big 12. I definitely think he's up there in one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. And it was great to see. I know, again, the offense had some issues out there in Iowa State, but the weather, kind of all that, to see them get it together at the end, I don't think that happens without Morton back there. I know that I was wondering if is it Will Hammond, your 4-star freshman quarterback? I was wondering if we were going to see him, but it's looking like Morton's back, and that's bad news for the Buffs, man, because I definitely think Tech is a better team right now with Morton behind center. And I'm curious, what types of defenses do you feel like you guys have had success against the most? We're a pretty aggressive defense. We play a lot of man coverage and we blitz a lot. And so I'm curious how you guys, or how you think, RC, the Red Raiders match up with their offense versus kind of the style of play that CU tends to bring.
Well, I don't think Texas Tech has seen Travis Hunter because there's one of one, right? Like he's one of one, right? When it comes down to it. So I think from that standpoint, obviously that's a mismatch from the Texas Tech side of it. But in terms of what Texas Tech offensively does best, you're kind of feeding into it at that point. They run the football the best. That's where they have to start. This Texas Tech offense is built off of two things. And unfortunately, if you're a Texas Tech fan watching this year, they get away from it sometimes. And that's where you have that 37-minute gap where it looks like you forget what offense is. But they are built upon RPOs and play action passes. And man-to-man coverage is where you thrive off of that, right? So to me, I think what you're talking about fits in nicely for what Texas Tech wants to do. That being said, Colorado is by far, and this is no disrespect to Iowa State, who was the best defense in the Big 12 coming into that game against Texas Tech. Colorado is by far the most athletic defense Texas Tech is going to play this year. I don't think that that's a question. And they've gotten a lot better. I was telling David off air, I'm sure your audience will love this. I was not a Colorado truther. I did not see it. Hand up for accountability. Good for y'all. Prove me wrong. I'm here for it. Give me all the criticism. But even I can see with my bias that I had early on, this defense has improved significantly, even from just year one to year two. Now, are they perfect? No defense is in college football, but you can tell that the athleticism and really what they have in terms of the unique personnel is really starting to understand this scheme and go after the quarterback like you're talking about. And that's what Texas Tech wants to do too. The secondary for Texas Tech is cheeks. It's not good. It's really not. Shedeur is going to have a nice day, okay? But if they can hit Shedeur, much like if Colorado can hit Baron Morton, I think that's going to be the be-all, end-all in terms of the big factor in this game is which team gets after the quarterback the most and which quarterback is least affected by the different blitz schemes or whatever it may be from each team that they're going to want to throw at them.
Yeah. That's very interesting, man, because Cincinnati was an interesting case study because they don't tend to bring a lot of pressure. And I just didn't really feel like stylistically that matches up well with this offense. You know, the one defense that had success, bringing four guys consistently, sometimes they would bring five, would be Nebraska. And, they have some mammoths there on that defensive line that I don't know if anybody in the Big 12 has defensive lines that can kind of stack up with that. I think teams that had more success against the offense, they have brought pressure effectively. For instance, Kansas State. I mean, they were bringing pressure. They were aggressive. How our offense works, it's a big play offense. Shedeur, I think he's one of the toughest football players in all of college football, and he is willing to take hits in order to give his guys chances for really big plays downfield. Sometimes that can be to the detriment of, taking what's available on the other underneath. But again, you live with it because you benefit so much more from it than how it holds y'all back, right? For the most part, right? Again, there are just, certain quarters where that hasn't worked out, but throughout the season, I mean, Shedeur's been playing great football. I think he'll go number one, or at least be the first quarterback off the board in this year's draft. We'll see how it all shakes out. But
Joey McGuire agrees with you. I don't know if you saw that today.
I didn't.
Yeah, in his press conference, verbatim, I wrote this quote down for you. McGuire said Shedeur is the best quarterback in college football without question, and if he was a GM in the NFL, Shedeur should 100% be the number one quarterback in next year's NFL draft. And I would tend to agree. I think the only person that's even remotely close is Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's between those two. And I don't – cool. Pick whichever one you want. Doesn't matter to me. They're both awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both fantastic. And I would agree with you, man. Like Taj Brooks, I feel like he's so slept on. He's so slept on, man, when it comes to running back talent. He has been fantastic for you guys throughout his career. And yeah, like he is definitely going to be the key for Colorado to stop. We have gotten much better in the run, the run defense or the yardage given up compared to last year. But we're still kind of teetering around the same level y'all are at. I think we're both right around 155 yards per game. Is there anything that you can speak to about Taj Brooks specifically, or just kind of the types of runs and plays that Texas Tech has run and that have had the most success with Brooks involved?
Yeah, definitely halfback zone. They love getting to the outside. They love going between whether that's their left guard, left tackle, or right guard, right tackle, and really trying to get Taj out to the outside because they use their tight ends out there as well. And every tight end Texas Tech has is really good at blocking. You got Mason Tharp, who should probably be a starting power forward for a D1 basketball team. He's 6'9", 275. Goodness. Dude is a behemoth. And then you've got Jalen Conyers, who was arguably the best tight end transfer in this last year's cycle. Y'all may be familiar with him at Colorado because he previously played at Arizona State before his time. He's a West Texas kid, so he came back home. And then you got John Carlos Miller III as well. But that's really what they like to do. They like to get out to the outside. Now, that's not to say that they can't run between the tackles right up the gut. Taj is a physical runner, and I think the biggest compliment you can give Taj is he always falls forward. So if you think he's down and he only got 2 yards, he actually got 4, right? It's that kind of deal. It's every time. Like if he's in the backfield and you think, oh, we got him for a loss. No, he got back to the line of scrimmage. Like it's just, there's no really negative plays from Taj Brooks in that regard. And the thing that really I think people do sleep on, like watching him, he's a lot more agile than people think. He's not that big of a dude. He's built like a bowling ball, right? But he's physical, he's agile, and he's got some moves where he can put you in the blender if need be. I mean, shoot, he jumped over an Iowa State defender last week. He didn't quite Saquon him and do it backwards, but who can, right? But yeah, he's fundamental, right? If Colorado wants to win this game, simple and plain, if they take away Taj Brooks, and by take away, I mean limit him to like 75 yards, and that's limiting him because of the workload he will get, y'all's chances of winning exponentially increase. But the thing is with Taj Brooks, and I'm not saying he is him, but he's kind of got that similar workload to him, like Derrick Henry in the NFL, in the sense that he gets better as the game goes on. That's the key point with Taj here. He's not Derrick Henry. Please do not clip that. You did not hear what I said, okay? he did. Please, listeners, listen. I did not say he's Derrick Henry. I just says he has that similar traits to Derrick Henry where he gets better as the game goes on. Perfect example was against Iowa State as well. He's really good in terms of just not making mistakes. He's really good pass blocker as well. He just does a lot of things really, really well for Texas Tech.
Man, a lot to comment on here. Again, thank you so much, RC. I do want to say thank you. We've had a couple super chats come through. We'll get to those here at the end. Again, guys, please go subscribe to RC's podcast, the Back to 12 podcast, covering everything Texas Tech. He does a wonderful job. And excuse me, I want to talk about some of the receiving weapons because, of course, well, I guess before I get to that, I do want to say Taj Brooks, he kind of reminds me in a sense of the other big-time running back that we faced this year has been DJ Giddens of Kansas State. And he definitely gave us trouble, man. Like, you know, he's a hard guy to bring down, like no doubt about it. And Taj Brooks is definitely like built in that same mold, right? So it's going to be CU's, you know, top priority. Again, this isn't anything mind-blowing. You want to stop the run so that then you can get after the passer, have our tall high-performing cornerbacks do their thing. But like this Texas Tech receiving core is no slouch. I would say that it is definitely better than a lot of the teams that we have played so far this year. Again, I know that you commented on Josh
Kelly. Yeah.
Yes, Josh Kelly. But I'm also curious if you could talk about the other weapons involved in the passing game, the offensive line, as well as is the 5-star freshman y'all brought in last year, Micah Hudson. How's he doing?
And that's a soft spot. That's a low blow, David. I know it was by accident, but that's a low blow. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if he plays in this game. He missed the Iowa State game, didn't travel. To start backwards with your questions, has a leg injury. He's questionable for this game. He really hadn't done much, and that is one of the key talking points for Texas Tech fans this year, because it's like when he does play, he tends to make good plays, right? But with the wide receivers as a whole, if you listen to Joey McGuire, the reason that Micah Hudson doesn't play is because these wide receivers are so good. And it does start with Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly is in my opinion, a top 5 wide receiver in the Big 12. He's not Travis Hunter. I get it. He's not, people, but he's really good in the slot. He's that security blanket for Baron Morton. And I saw in the chat that Texas Tech's quarterback folds under pressure. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And that's where Josh Kelly comes into the mix. That's where Taj Brooks comes into the mix. But if the guy you need to watch out for on the big play aspect of it, if you really have that man-to-man, and I think this is probably the guy that Travis Hunter would line up the most against. I could be wrong. Does Travis Hunter move inside a lot, or is he just strictly outside, right?
More so an outside guy. We got Preston Hodge kind of holding down the slot, 24.
That's who's going to guard Josh Kelly then, is 24 Hodge. And then Hunter will probably be on Caleb Payday Douglas. Caleb is the guy, that big play wide receiver, that prototypical long 6'3", long strides, can run like a gazelle and throw it up downfield and he'll run under it kind of guy. That's what he is, okay? And then there's Coy Aiken on the opposite side that really doesn't create much separation at all, but has a knack to win those 50-50 balls quite a bit more than the 50-50. And so him and Baron Morton are roommates. They're really close. They have a connection. Outside of those 3 guys, you're looking at the tight ends. That would be Jalen Conyers, who I mentioned previously, Mason Tharp. They're really on the field to be extra blockers most of the time, but don't be surprised if you see Jalen Conyers in a wildcat formation. That was actually what Texas Tech got that last touchdown with against Iowa State, where technically it was a direct stack to Taj Brooks, but it was a wildcat set, and Jalen Conyers just lined up to the right, and he was the one that was acting as the quarterback still. Hell of a lead block, by the way, by him on that. So those are the guys you need to watch out for. You got the speedy Jacoby Williams. He's kind of the lightning to Taj Brooks' thunder. He's a true freshman, 4.3, 4.4 speed. Dude is quick as a hiccup, as your grandma and grandpa would say. And if he sees daylight, he's going to capitalize on it. Now, how much does he play? Hell if I 20 snaps, it could be 4. It really kind of depends on Taj, because you're not going to take Taj Brooks out of the game. But those are the kind of guys to look out for. On the offensive line, it's been much like Texas Tech season, a roller coaster. They're experienced. They've gotten a little bit better. Davon Carter has really solidified that right side of the offensive line. He's a transfer from Memphis, didn't have a starting spot. Texas Tech loses their best offensive lineman about 4 games into the year, and Vinny Scurry, a transfer from Toledo, kind of reshuffles the whole offensive line, and now you've got Davon Carter there at right guard, Sheridan Wilson at center, and then you're kind of mixing and matching from there, with Caleb Rogers really being more of the stalwart and a guy that has 50-plus starts at right tackle. Then on the left side, that's where you've got Sterling Porcher, who is from Middle Tennessee State, and then it's either Dalton Merriman, a transfer that really didn't play too much last year, or Ty Buchanan, who actually started out as the right tackle, now left tackle. Is the offensive line good? I think that's probably too much of a stretch. Is it decent? Yeah, I think that's fair. And to be honest with you, compared to last year, this is an all-pro offensive line, because last year's offensive line for Texas Tech, we could have started on it, David, and done a better job. It was that bad. It's improved. Is it great? No, but it does one thing better than I think a lot of people give them credit for, and that is they run block really well, and they are super physical, which is obviously important with a guy like Tosh Brooks.
Wow. Yeah. Very interesting similarities with the offensive line, RC, because I wouldn't call our offensive line like stellar by any means, but I'm so happy with it because of how bad it was,
exactly.
last year,
exactly.
How much improvement we've seen with it. And I think they've gotten better throughout time as well. But one thing I just wanted to point out to you that you'll probably notice that we started doing a few games ago is that we have been heavily rotating guards throughout the game. So that's not common. Like, no, but it's helped us. Like, it's helped us with the run game. And I think, honestly, it's because I think we have some guys. We got like 4 guys that can play guard that I don't really feel like there's much difference between, like, talent wise or play wise. And hey, if you're not losing anything and you can keep these guys fresh, a little bit more fresh throughout the game, why not do it? It's kind of a unique like thing right now. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. You're going to see our offensive line kind of shuffle throughout the game and try and find that right combination, during crunch time in the second half.
Is it do they switch for certain sets? Like, if it's a passing down, is it like, hey, these 2 guards come in, or is it just like random?
No, you'll get like a 2 or 3 drive with like one combination.
Interesting.
And then you'll see another 2-3 drive combination with another guy.
But the tackles stay the same, right? You'll have that 5-star offensive tackle. He's been a stud. I know that. That's interesting.
It's been great. And right tackle, it's not the best, but it's serviceable. We got Philip Houston, number 54.
You're preaching to the choir, dude.
He's, I think, like 285 pounds, like on a good day, I think. So he's a little light. He's a really good run blocker. He's continually rated one of our best linebackers or our run blockers every game, but can struggle with the bull rush. He can struggle with some higher or like more physical guys.
Yeah, you got to worry about that.
Oh, Texas Tech doesn't have anybody.
No, we don't got no bull. No. It's interesting you bring up the guards, though, because I don't know if it's a trend, okay? But over the past 2 games, Texas Tech has been better at collapsing the pocket in the face of the quarterback, right? Which kind of scares me against Shedeur, because Shedeur running out of the pocket and just making off-kilter throws scares the shit out of me, quite honestly, especially because you can just say, fuck it, Travis Hunter's down there somewhere, and it works a lot. But that's what Texas Tech has gotten better at the past 2 weeks. Will it sustain against Colorado? I don't know. But they've gotten a better job at bull rushing in the interior of the offensive line. And that has opened up some blitz lanes for guys like Jacob Rodriguez, because the thing you'll notice with Texas Tech, if they do have a pass rush, it is not going to come from guys on the edge. It's going to come from the linebackers. It's going to come from the Ben Roberts of the world, number 13, the aforementioned previously in the live, Jacob Rodriguez, number 10, Malik Dingle. Yes, that is his real last name, number 35. Those kind of guys. Like, it's going to come from maybe Harvey Dyson, who is the closest thing to a traditional edge that Texas Tech has. But the Red Raiders have lost this season 3, if not 4, of their top 5 presumed preseason edge rushers for the season. Wow. So now they're trying to piece this together, and DeRuiter, basically kind of like y'all are doing, is like, all right, well, we can't cover in the second. Y'all are way better at it. We can't cover in the secondary. So let's just throw a random ass blitz at them and see what happens. Yeah. And it's working. Now, if you don't get home, congratulations, you have a touchdown, i.e. the thing that happened against TCU. Don't worry if you're a Buffs fan. Like, there's no guy that's going to ruin your night on the edge there, unless, I don't know, some kind of Christmas holiday season miracle happens on that front, and the guy, I don't know, spends all of his coins in college football 25 on being better.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, that's super insightful, RC. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how both of these offensive lines fare in this environment. But one luxury that you guys have in this game that we don't is, of course, playing at home. We're going into a rowdy environment. It's been a long time since my Buffaloes have made the trek down to Lubbock, Texas for a home game. A lot of new fans coming into Buff Nation since then. So I would just love, RC, for you to kind of paint the picture. What is a game day experience like at Tech, and what are some unique things that you'll see if we have people that are visiting for this game, that they're in Lubbock for this game? What makes Texas Tech such a difficult place to play in?
Man, I hope you like beer. But no, I'm extremely biased, obviously. But I don't know if there's a better atmosphere in the Big 12 on game day, in the sense that you'll hear fans, saying some things they probably shouldn't be saying to players, right? Like any fan base does, more so at Texas Tech. But then, at the end of the day, if y'all win, hey, good shit. That's kind of how it is. Now, the tradition that y'all are going to see if you haven't watched the Tech game is the tortillas. And that comes from a long line of someone at Texas A&M basically saying the only thing Lubbock, Texas has is tortilla factory. Well, they took that personal. Okay, shout out to MJ. And they started bringing tortillas to the game, and every kickoff now they throw them. Now, David, I'm going to give you a heads up. If you see a circle, a cutout circle, right, so it looks like a donut tortilla, just know that tortilla has been around some, how do I say this, jewels, per se, more than likely, because they check if you have tortillas, because they don't want you throwing them. So they pat you down. They check your cowboy boots. They check your shirt, right? So girls will be stuffing them, and then guys will be packing them. You know what I'm saying? And so, listen, if that's not a great tradition, I don't know what the hell. You don't love college football. But you'll see that. You'll see the masked rider, which is super cool, in terms of you'll have the masked rider come out on the horse when they bring the players out. There's just a lot of cool traditions. You've got everything from the standpoint of almost like Mississippi State, a little bit better, not as annoying in terms of the bells, but really it's just a passionate fan base, man. A lot of people think Lubbock, Texas is this small college town, and it's got that feel, but it's got 400,000 people, man. Like it's a big place, right?
A bigger city than Boulder.
Yeah, it's with students, 400,000, and it's continuing to grow. And so they're passionate about their Red Raiders. They're friendly. It's really just goes back to the whole adage of like, hey, we'll treat you how you treat us kind of deal, right? Like if you're a hostile fan, they'll probably be a little hostile to you. If you come up to a tailgate and ask for a beer, they're probably going to give you one. It's that kind of deal. So it's a great environment. It's going to be loud as hell. I think this is probably the loudest environment y'all play in all year, because I don't know about you, David, and maybe I'm going down your dock too far here, but I truly believe this game it's basically an elimination game if you want to make to Arlington for either team.
Yes.
Right. So like if Tech loses, they've got 3 losses. You can forget about them. If Tech wins, Colorado has 2 losses, but Tech has the tiebreaker.
Yep.
Right at that point. So I think this is an elimination game for both of these teams if they want to play right down the road from where I'm at here in Dallas, in Jerry World. And I think that the stakes are added to it, and it just makes it that much more enjoyable. And I think the crowd is going to be that much more lively. And the old grandpa in me is questioning, do I bring earplugs? The younger guy in me is like, hell no, enjoy this shit and don't have a voice on Sunday. So it's just going to be awesome, man. But again, remember, if you see a tortilla with the circle in it, you know where it's been, David. You know where it's been.
Yeah. As a West Texas guy myself, I can tell you, man, the Texas Tech home field advantage, it's slept on, man. It's slept on nationally. We did go to Lincoln earlier this year. That was pretty loud. This is definitely going to be right up there, I think it will probably be louder than UCF.
Yeah, I should preface this. I forgot y'all went to Lincoln. I should say from the stadium standpoint, right? Obviously, Nebraska holds more people.
Ton.
But from just like hey, capacity wise, it's going to be just as loud. Like it's going to be that way.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the biggest games that Tech has had in a while out there. Again, it's elimination game, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, the playoffs, I think for us, they, in a sense,
they're still on the table. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it almost started for us the week against Arizona because it's like we have to win out in order to make the conference championship and have an opportunity to do that. We need some buff luck to go in our favor. We got some of that this weekend with the help of the Red Raiders, but ultimately, in order to put ourselves in that position, we need to handle business before we get too concerned about what everybody else is doing. And this is a big statement game. I think that since Lincoln, we've been better and better playing on the road, and this is going to be another fantastic test to see, like, truly, I believe that we needed to play our best football the last third of the season, and this is the perfect way to start out, saying, all right, have we elevated our play coming out of this second bye week? Are we ready for what's going to be, I think, a really great environment and a really great test? RC, like, before we wrap things up, man, anything else, like any lingering thoughts on this matchup or anything like that?
No, man, I'm excited. I was telling you before we hit record and went live, like, this is a game I circled right away. Knew I'd be out in the 806 to watch this one. I was a doubter of Colorado, full hand up accountability. They have proven me wrong and then some. And it's going to be a hell of an environment out in the 806. I got to ask you before we head out, though, David, what's your prediction here? I think I know where you're going.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, you're the first one to ask me, so I haven't thought about this too far, but I really do think, man, our Buffs, I can't pick against our Buffs, man, really, ever since, that game against UCF. I think we've seen this team turn the corner. Even though we lost to Kansas State, I thought we played really, really tough, and I think that this truly has been a team that has gotten better every week, and there's too much on the line, I think, right now for a lot of these guys to where they're going to come in locked in, focused, motivated, and I guess I'll pin this on. I think we're going to be able to protect Shedeur good enough to hit those guys downfield. That's really what every game kind of comes down to with CU, is that, and our magic number with the running backs is at least 20 carries. With the running backs, we win. Last two games, we've actually had more running plays than passing plays, which is crazy. I don't think that will happen against Tech, but that's, I think, what this game comes down to. So give me Colorado. I don't know what the spread is, but I'm gonna go with give me Colorado by 10 points.
Okay. Yeah, I think you probably know where I'm. Yeah, I think you probably know where I'm going. And to be fair, I will say this. I would pick Colorado if it was on a neutral site or in Boulder.
Yeah.
But since it's in Lubbock, Texas, I can't get the last home game out of my mind and just think to myself, and maybe this is being, hopelessly optimistic. I just don't see a world where Texas Tech lays another just absolute shitter at home with them being back in the race. Now, if they would have lost to Iowa State, I'm picking Colorado regardless. But I feel like this gives them new hope. This gives them new optimism because they are in the race still to make Arlington now. And the spread, just so you know, y'all are actually favored in this game by 3.5 points. Yeah, which I thought it was actually going to be a couple points higher. I thought it was going to be around like 5.5, but it's 3.5. I'm going to pick Texas Tech to win. I think it's going to be a shootout of sorts.
Yeah.
I have Texas Tech winning 37-34.
Dude, fair enough. Man, I think this is going to be a really fun game. Before we do wrap up, there are a few questions and comments that I want to get to, some with Tech, some with just comments, but I do want to thank everybody for involvement. in this. Again, please be sure to like both streams. Go subscribe to RC's podcast in the description of my video. Love having other Big 12 content creators on the show. It's always really fun. Rad Daddy here with the $10 super chat. Again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Yeah, he's pointing out here, versus the same opponents, Texas Tech has allowed more points against our shared opponents, and that's going to be something that hopefully we can take that confidence into this matchup and really capitalize on. But it's a vulnerable defense, but we have to do our part.
David, that's a really nice way to describe that defense. Vulnerable is really nice. That's generous, in fact.
Here we'll get to Coach Barry. Coach Barry, RC, you got to know, he's won over $36,000 betting on the Buffs this year. He's absolutely killing it. So thanks for sharing some of the winnings. Coach Barry says, what's up, Dave? Going up against Bookkeeper again, 6K bet on BYU beats Utah by 7 points. Cash out will be 12.7K. BYU will lose to either Kansas or Houston or both. Hopefully, that's what I hope for, or beat Utah. But yeah, I definitely really like that bet. I'm surprised you can get that much of a cash out with Utah being as poor as they are right now. And, BYU, what are your thoughts on BYU right now, RC?
Storming Mormons, man. I didn't see it coming. I mean, I think here, though, even though we may be enemies this week, we can agree on one thing. It brings me a lot of joy to see Utah suck. It brings me a lot of joy because they talk the absolute most shit on social media.
They didn't even want to be in this conference, man.
It is so annoying. They're so annoying. And I don't get annoyed with fans on social media because I think even the annoying fans are beautiful in the sense that that's what makes social media so great. Like, you can voice your opinion, even if it's blatantly wrong. You can still voice it. And that's what makes the Big 12 so great. But I think even a better part of the Big 12 now that it's not 12, I guess it's 16. The 15 other teams in this conference can agree on one thing and one thing only. They hate Utah. They hate them. They hate Utah. And it is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's great to feel united in that way. I thought they were the most overrated team coming into the season. And this is the year we finally beat them at home. We're going to get it done. And yeah, what's going on
next week for y'all, right?
Yeah. So
look ahead game, question mark, get caught napping, question mark as a Tech fan. Yeah, trap game, Texas trap game for y'all, question mark. I say with hopeful optimism.
Maybe you can hope that, but right now I'm a little bit more scared that the Utes are the trap game because their offense is just non-existent, man. So that's how I feel about it. Coach Barry, again, thanks again for more spoilings of your gambling winnings. Wow. Okay, Coach Barry has already said, Dave, Baylor beat Texas Tech 59-35. We have shut down Texas Tech wide receiver. We have to shut down Josh Kelly, as you pointed out, RC. 8 receptions for 127 yards against Iowa State. Khalib Douglas, you talked about him, 3 TDs versus Baylor. And running back, you also hit on him, RC. Jacoby Williams, he's that true freshman dynamic running back. You're absolutely right. Real quick, RC, I would just love to hear you describe Jacoby Williams a little bit as opposed to or in comparison to Taj Brooks.
Blink and he's gone. So he's an interesting story because he's a kid from a 2A school in Texas, middle of nowhere. I don't even remember what it's called. No, he probably doesn't even remember what it's called. Just kidding, Jacoby. Love you. But you thought he was going to redshirt. And so Texas Tech lost their backup running back, Cameron Valdez, for the season. And then they had another true freshman, Cam Dickey, who is basically just Taj Brooks 2.0. I mean, he literally looks like Taj as a freshman running the football. He gets hurt. So now it's like, well, shit, we have to use Jacoby. And you can see the freshman in him still, like there's mistakes. But when he hits a hole and has an open lane, like the spark is there. And he really is the lightning component to that backfield. How much will he be used? I don't know. But when he's in the game, he's a viable threat, not only on the ground, but pass catching as well. And he can make one cut and go to the house. He's got that type of speed. But Yeah, man. He's the backfield for Texas Tech is truly a dynamic one in multiple ways, and it probably is the major point of emphasis for Deion and crew, and rightfully so, with Taj Brooks being the best player Texas Tech has by, I don't want to say a country mile, but maybe a city mile.
Yeah. Want to get to this over from your channel, In Season with Casper, asking, have other teams spied on Shedeur? How effective has it been? No. They have not. We have not really seen that. He's not somebody who runs much. He will run or scramble rather to extend the play, but he's not somebody who will run forward very often. Like, we still don't run it too well out of shotgun. Like, we've gotten it better, but it's just because he's not really a threat on the zone read or anything like that. You know, he rarely takes it, and rightfully so. I don't want him taking hits. And I think, though, one thing that has been effective against CU and our offensive line has been running stunts. I think we've gotten better at handling them in communication throughout the year, but that's still, I think, a thing that teams should look to accomplish, as well as delayed blitzes. So not only like the simulated pressures, but delayed blitzes, those have been successful against our offensive line in the past. And I think if Tech is going to give us a run, man, for our money and shut down Colorado on some of these drives, I think the best path forward is for them to play aggressive and to play without fear of losing. Not the Cincinnati game plan.
Yeah, no, and stunts is where Texas Tech really gets their pressure from. As I mentioned earlier, there's no true edge guy. Maybe Harvey Dyson is the guy you need to know about, but truly they get it from stunts, and it mostly comes from the linebacker spot. So I think it's going to be interesting. And when you brought up the guard rotation, I was like, okay, maybe there's some miscommunication there, and that helps with, you know, the stunts that Tim DeRuyter likes to run. But you're going to know early on, like I'm talking first 2 drives, if Texas Tech can get to the quarterback. If they can't in the first 2 drives, they're going to be like, all right, we're going to drop 8, and we're just going to keep the run game in front of us. Shedeur, can you pick us apart? And I think the answer is probably yes. But that's probably what they're going to try and do. But you're going to see some stunts early for sure from, you know, A, B, C gap, whatever it may be. So that's where Texas Tech gets their pass rush, if they have one.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, Red Raider 17 is asking RC, are you going to be at Big Noon Kickoff? And what are some places that, if you're coming in to Lubbock for this game, barbecue, is there good Tex-Mex around?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of places should tourists be checking out over the weekend?
Now, David, now you're speaking my language. Yeah, absolutely. I will be at Big Noon Kickoff. I never got anything like that when I was in school, so I'm uber jealous as my brother-in-law is a freshman at Tech. We're going to visit him and the game too. So, of course, his first year, he gets this. Like, what the fuck is that? Anyway, that's just me rambling. Yeah, no, I saw somebody mention Evie Mays. That is a great place to go. I will say I am not sure what their hours are. They have really interesting hours, so Google before you go.
What kind of food?
Barbecue. Best barbecue maybe in the state of Texas. No joke. It's that good. And if you're looking for places to go out, maybe you're there on Friday night, Chimmy's is the place where all the students go. So that's going to be tough to get into. One of my favorite spots is Two Docks Brewery, probably the best beer in Lubbock that's actually brewed there in the 806.
Okay.
You've got a couple of places like Fun Noodle, really good Chinese food if you're into that. And then let's see, Thai Pepper. Well, that's closed on Saturday and Sunday, but if you get there on Friday, best Thai food out there. And then if you're into some Cajun food, there's a place not too far from Thai Pepper called Jazz that has really good gumbo and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of options. And then if you just want to be boring as shit, there's a Cane's right across the street.
Love it. Okay, we got a few more super chats, RC. I'm sorry for holding you late. We'll get to it here really quick. Want to give shout out to everybody who's throwing. You got a couple as well. So again,
can I throw one more restaurant? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
one more restaurant.
Yeah.
My wife actually is listening and heard me not say this, so she texted me. Dirk's Chicken. I'm not joking with you, David. It is the first restaurant I have to go to when I go back to the 806. Period. It is not negotiable. If anybody wants to go anywhere else, have fun. you can catch me at Dirk's. And it is, you got chicken tenders there. You've got gumbo. It's sensational.
Ooh,
sorry to interrupt.
Wonderful. No, you're good. Again, thank you, Rad Daddy, for the $10 super chat. Saying Tech's game plan will be to run the ball, control the clock, complete man beaters. Yes, that's how you beat this team in the secondary. If we stop them or limit them running, it's a wraps for Tech. Don Peasy coming in here on your channel, throwing a couple bucks your way, saying if CU beats Tech, they're running the table. And also throwing in another $2 here, saying BYU will get clapped by Arizona State in Tempe. That's my hope. That's my hope. It helps us out. Put money on it. That's what I want. But the thoughts on these comments, RC?
I think Rad Daddy's 100% right on this. I think one of the most telling stats in this game is if Tech wins the time of possession, their chances of winning increase dramatically. Now, obviously, part of that is that they have to limit the big plays from Colorado because big plays don't really take too much time. But it's really going to be like, hey, ball control with Taj Brooks, use RPOs, have the play action, and really, really be good from that standpoint. And if that's the case, Texas Tech has a great chance to win. And he's right on completing the man beaters. Now, I will say this. You're going to see Baron Morton throw some of the ugliest passes you've ever seen in your life. And then you will see him throw an absolute dot that maybe only like Aaron Rodgers in his prime will throw. And you're like, wait, where the fuck did that come from? Like, he does that once or twice a game. And that's not to say Baron Morton isn't a good quarterback. He is a good quarterback, but he's a lot better when Texas Tech uses play action and the RPO game. Because if they get away from that, that's where the Red Raiders just completely disappear. And if they disappear against a team like Colorado, congratulations, y'all are heading back to Boulder with a dub.
RC, thank you so much for joining the channel, man. This was a lot of fun. Let's be sure to connect, man. I think we play next year. I can't remember, but next time
hopefully it's in Boulder
together. Yeah, it should be in Boulder. That's what I'm talking about. But before we go, for all of my viewers in my stream, again, guys, please go follow RC and let us know, man, what do you got coming up on the channel that we can look forward to? And just in general, man, what is your channel about?
Yeah, so Back to 12 podcast channel. Shameless plug, largest independently owned Texas Tech YouTube channel. Only one's bigger by the university, but give daily videos on Texas Tech football, ranging from game previews, doing lives like this with other fantastic content creators in the Big 12 like yourself, or just talking Tech hoops. That's the big one now. Basketball season is here, people, and out in the 806, that's a big freaking deal. In year 2 of Grant McCasland as they try and get a little bit deeper into the NCAA tournament, kind of like y'all did last year, except y'all are in a rebuild now after everybody left. But
yeah, everyone's gone.
We digress. So really just talking about Tech football, Tech men's basketball, and then maybe a sprinkle or two of the Big 12 overall. But it's engaging. It's fun. Almost 11,000 strong Red Raiders over there. And never a boring day when it comes to talking about Texas Tech and creating content around it.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining. Again, big credit, RC, for spending your evening. Hey, now you got some time to go watch Pat Mahomes, I guess is what we're all about to do.
I'm headed to the Mavs game, though.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, again, thank you so much, everybody, for the super chats, for engaging in conversation. And RC, man, enjoy Big Noon Kickoff. That's so special. Hope you guys have a wonderful time. I will cheer selfishly for my Bucks to get the dub, but again, really do appreciate you coming on the show, and let's be sure to do this again next time this matchup rolls up.
Yeah, absolutely. And David, before we head out, great job, man. You're one of my favorite content creators in the Big 12. That's what I think that makes the Big 12 so special, is there's guys like you and myself that like we're not afraid to create with other people. Like, I feel like sometimes when you're associated with a bigger brand out there, it's like, oh, I don't want to talk to this smaller creator, quote unquote. It's like, well, that's where the conversation is at the grand scheme of things. So I think you do a phenomenal job, man. And I really appreciate you letting me tag onto your channel and discuss what I think is the biggest game in college football this weekend.
And let's go, baby. Guys, thanks again for tuning in. Wreck 'em and Sco Buffs.